how to build confidence in the moment, because we think that we will have confidence once we have the body that we want. We will have confidence once we have the money. Neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett, she says that our brain is predicting at all times. You're predicting right now, what am I going to say? So basically, we are lacking confidence in the present moment is when we are predicting that in a certain situation will not be successful. Therefore, in the present moment, your body starts to protect you because maybe you don't have the past experience, maybe you don't have the skills on how to handle the situation. That's why they say that if you have competence, you have confidence, because with competence, you can handle the situation. Therefore, you feel confident. Makes sense, right? My philosophy is that the quality of our life is not determined by our past, by our mistakes. It's actually determined by the kind of questions we are asking. The questions that are actually helping you get clarity is actually, what is something that I can commit? What is something that I can see, right? So for example, I wanted to make YouTube videos, but I was like always not feeling confident doing long form videos. So I stopped it and I did over 100 videos that were short videos. The same thing that Pixar actually did. They started with short movies and then they moved to actually making a real movie, a long movie. So you can learn from that, from taking tiny steps that are actually having the clarity. Therefore, you have the confidence to take action. What is something that you would recognize progress? What is something that you would feel comfortable and confident to do? Therefore, it's going to move you closer towards what is it that you want to build. Now, I would move towards like building blocks, like questions that you have to actually play with and think about that are actually determining your confidence overall. The first block is reconnecting with the sense of curiosity and what are your natural interests? What are you more inclined that you want to learn, you want to do, you want to discover? Because what I found for myself is that I've lost huge amounts of confidence because I actually didn't do what I wanted to do. I did what others wanted me to do, to go and study economics, for example. And I struggled with an accounting in a job because it wasn't something that I was naturally wanting to learn more from. I was like reading psychology books on the side to actually get myself energized in order to deal with accounting stuff. So I was not feeling confident enough to take responsibility, right? Because I just wanted to get out of my village. My mother said, doing economics is going to give you a job and is going to give you safety, which makes sense, right? From the surviving point, like do something that is going to be safe and is going to give you opportunity to find a job and to make some money. I have my kids and I admire their confidence. I've learned so much from them because since they were small, they were just curious. They were like learning, going, exploring, cabinets and drawers and running and asking questions. They were like full of life, very much alive. So it's that inner curiosity that they have within themselves. Doing what is it that you want. Build competence is something that you want. You're actually taking action on it and you are building competence on it. One question that I really like from Naval Ravikant is like, what is something that feels like play to you but looks like work to others? And the more you go with this question, the more you manage to build your own authenticity and your own power instead of comparing yourself or instead of doing things for the sake of doing things. That's really gets you out of this surviving mindset and put you in a thriving mindset because you build on your strength. You're not building on weaknesses or what you think, oh, that person is successful because they are doing that. Therefore, if I do that, then I'm going to be successful. You have to carve your own path to find your own answers. Basically, it starts with asking your own questions and have enough patience to actually have the answers to be revealed to you. Look for, who can help, what else can I try, and so on. The second big part on how we build our confidence is by knowing two things. The first one is what exactly we want to build or achieve. What is the context where we want to build the confidence in, right? Maybe you want to feel confident overall in your day. Therefore, you have to know what's the flow of your day. So, for example, the solution-focused coaching question that I really love is like, you wake up one morning and your life is exactly as you wanted it. What is it that you do? What are other people people saying? How do you interact? How does that look like? You want to be fit. What are the things that you do to keep that? What do you feed yourself? What do you exercise? And I had this vision for myself. I really wanted to have like a house where I can go outside and wake up and walk on wet grass. I had moments where, I was at my friend's house for the night with the kids, and I woke up in the morning and I was like, she had a garden with grass and the kids were already outside, and I was like, oh my God, this is my miracle. I was so grateful just for having that moment. I'm getting closer to my miracle. What gives a lot of power is that you're not like, on a ladder and you have this gap between where you are and where you want to be. Miracle Day is like, what is actually that I want to add? Would it be like a sign of progress? That's a question from Solution Focused Coaching. Like, what is a sign of progress? How would I notice a sign of progress? It's not like something you do, but the more you have clarity, then therefore the more easier you get to move with action. You automatically have the confidence to do the thing. The third building block is reframing mistakes. We've been taught since we were small that mistakes are bad because mistakes can put us in real danger. So we've been trained even in the classroom, right? Like I have the teacher who is underlying all our mistakes with red. Others have tried to correct our behavior by pointing at the mistakes. But the more you have clarity about your mistakes, the more likely you are going to repeat them. Therefore, there's this vicious cycle around mistakes. What we have to do is like reframe the mistakes. And once we try to correct ourselves or our behavior, is like building clarity around what is the desired behavior. So here are my questions. We think, what if we fail? How bad is it going to be? Our brain is predicting the worst things that can happen if we mess up. Therefore, people are going to laugh or are going to be rejected. So we are trying to be perfect. That's where the perfectionism is coming from, because you are trying to avoid mistakes and the consequences of making mistakes. So when we go about doing things, learning a new skill, going after what we want, mistakes are actually part of the process. You are learning the right way or how to do it. That's the purpose. So you're taking the feedback, this doesn't work, but this is what worked. The more you focus on what works and you repeat instead of thinking too much about the mistakes. For example, when I was learning to drive, prediction of the brain was like, I'm going to hit all the cars and I'm going to be in a horrible accident. But then you realize that you are not by yourself. The car is also controlled by the instructor. Therefore, you're not that really in danger. You're in a process of learning. You pay attention to doing the things right and you correct mistakes, but you focus on doing more of the right things. And at the end, you become a driver, right? So I have 3 questions on how to reframe mistakes. For example, improving my English, doing this video, talking to you here. So it is like, what if I fail? Then what, right? Like, what if I get, negative comments? What if it's like cringe showing it and being online? Therefore, it's like, oh, actually, I'm still myself. I still have good intentions for what I am doing. I feel comfortable within myself. Therefore, what can go wrong? If I fail, then what? I create a scenario that actually being rejected or failing, like I'm not going to be ruined by failing. So better create a scenario that feels safe for you. Therefore, you're going to feel confident. Another thing that gives me a lot of confidence is when I face challenges, where I face like failure or things don't go my way or it's a mistake, then I ask this question, so helpful. It's like, how is this good for me? Sometimes I was like, this is so painful, this is so sad. And then when I asked this question, I was able to take that energy and be creative. And I was feeling inspired to write in that sadness, right? Having new ideas. You realize that actually what is in your control to do, instead of like really focusing on the problem. Why is this problem happening to me? Why is this person treating me that way? Why do they talk like that? You flip it and you put it in your own advantage. You build that winning mindset. And now let's suppose that there are things that mess up. Oh, I have people disliking my videos, or things don't really work, or failed with businesses and stuff. So now the question was for me that really helped me. Would this make a better story? Moving to Bali, moving to Tenerife, instead of staying in one place, even if I was fearful that, moving is going to be a mistake, even even if failing, it's still a better story that I've tried instead of not doing it. There's one more question, actually. It's like, what is it that I know now that I didn't know before? So basically, you prioritize action instead of keeping yourself safe by not doing anything. So therefore, you reframe the mistakes, you reframe the failure. It's a win for you. Either way, because it's something that you want to do. So if you want to do it, instead of constraining yourself with surviving question, what is happening? What if I'm not good enough? And so on. How am I going to become better by actually trying and maybe failing? I'm going to be better off by actually taking the lamp, move one step towards what is it that you want, and repeat. The fourth block is collect wins. What we do, because of the focus on surviving, is going to pay attention to whatever goes wrong. So what is not achieved, how much you could have achieved but you haven't, or the things that people could have done but they haven't, or the things that you could have done but you haven't. So therefore, it's going to keep you like in this place, focusing on what went wrong, because it's trying to predict for the future, for the things not to go wrong for you. So if the brain says, if I understand why this went wrong, therefore I can predict in the future not to go wrong again. But what it fails to do is to actually correct the things that actually went well. What are the wins? Therefore, only by collecting the wins, and you find this concept explained in depth in the Winner Effect book. And it says actually it changes your chemistry once you are collecting the wins, because it's changing your states. And collect what was good today. What was a challenge that you actually been able to overcome? How did you even manage to not break up in the challenge? What have you done? Even if the things was a harder day, and how did you push through it? Maybe you did something, right? Like maybe you didn't do anything and you say like, I just push through. I just suck it up and push through. That's resilience, right? You are still here. That's a really good question to build this thriving mindset and to actually train your mind to see wins, because then you can praise yourself, uplift yourself. Therefore, you can uplift others. You notice what others are doing good. Therefore, they're going to do more good things in the future as well. So that's, a thriving cycle. The fifth part that is building confidence is to train your body. I've noticed, and you can see it, like people who train their body, like they work out. I did jiu-jitsu for 2 years. It really helped me because I'm traveled by myself across the world, walking through crowds. I noticed that my mind was calmer, because even if someone is like attacking, I'm not going to go for the default of surviving. I have some skill. Like I know how to escape. I know how to defend. I know how to do certain things. Therefore, I am having a different level of confidence that was embodied. So you have this neuroscientist, Antonio Damasio, and he says that actually confidence is not only cognitive, it's also embodied. When the action that you are predicting and you're going towards is like an alignment between the cognitive part and the body, you have some confidence in your body because you've been exposed, you know how to react to it. Besides the fact that working out our body or learning self-defense or martial arts is actually raising your confidence, what actually told my mind is that now I can protect. I have skills to protect myself. So my surviving is a little bit more covered. I have some tools that I can reach to in order to protect myself and not die. So that creates a level of confidence as well. And one element in the day-to-day in terms of being connected with your body. A lot of times we feel disconnected and we blame ourselves that we didn't show up with confidence or we didn't do it. When actually in reality, we didn't sleep or we are tired and our mind is like creating all the worst case scenarios because you don't have the fuel to deal with whatever it was scheduled another time to do it. But right now you are exhausted, you're tired, you didn't eat well, or it's something within your body. And maybe the best decision is to cancel or to sleep. And this is what actually the body needs more than actually the fact that the situation is so difficult or you can't handle it. You can't handle it because you don't have the resources in that moment. That's why so many people value freedom, right? Because then you can make decisions not to do it, or you are having the freedom to do the things that you want when you want to, when you have the energy to tackle them. So the sixth block of how to build confidence is to, it is a cliche, but hear me out here. Better ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. So therefore, what is this reinforcing? It's reinforcing to make your own decisions. Therefore, you take ownership. I grew up to be pure people pleaser. I was like asking my husband, like, what is it that you want at the restaurant? I was like suddenly wanting the same things he wanted. Or if I wanted to make a decision, I was like calling my mother, should I do that? Is right or wrong? The real building confidence is like really asking the question within yourself first. What is exactly that I want? And what is the kind of other perspective or information do I need, and from whom, that it can actually help me make a better decision? The more question you ask yourself, and then you ask a specific question on who can help, instead of reaching out to what in your proximity. Sometimes they are not the best option for getting the best advice, because usually we've been exposed to what kind of perspective they don't have this tool of asking you that questions, because that's going to help you more than actually giving you their perspective on what you should do. The more you learn to make your own decision, then to see, the options, the choices, look at the menu, try one thing and see how it looks, if it feels good, or if you want it next time as well. Make that little decisions and go big, go bigger and bigger to take ownership. That connects us to the point one, where it's like do the things that you want. We have naturally want to do certain things, right? So the more you do the things that you want, you're naturally curious and you want to learn more. Therefore, you are building on your strength. So in the end, we have this part where you have to reconnect with your inner curiosity. And the favorite question I have is like, what is something that feels like play to you but looks like work to others? It's from Naval Ravikant. I found it to be exactly this thing that you have to pay attention to, and what are the things that they feel like natural to you, but once you feel that thing that feels like play to you, that's your thing. That's something that is going to set you aside from doing what everybody else is doing. The second part is to focus on those little signs of progress. What is it? The miracle day? What would you do? And then build your life, the torch around that. And the third point was to reframe mistakes. I think this is one of the most life-changing, to change the questions around mistakes, because we are so scared. But the more we are aware of what is going on, the better questions we can ask, therefore better decision and actions. The fourth one is collect wins in order to be a winner. The more you focus on losses, your state is going to reflect that. The fifth one is train your body. Like, I haven't seen anyone that is actually working out, training their body, and, not have a glow and a different level of confidence. Then the sixth one is take ownership. The question is, what is it that you want first, instead of what everybody else is? And then you ask the question in order to get more clarity for yourself. So in the end, the confidence is not having it all or having it all perfect. The confidence is built by getting the clarity. Therefore, your brain is going to feel, safe enough in order to move into actions, because we actually never arrive somewhere where we will feel confident. There's a lot that you can do and explore and learn. I don't think we can get to the end of it in a lifetime. So that's why, instead of keeping your mind locked on only then once I've read all the books, once I did all the stuff, then I will feel confident. So if you start to ask better questions, focus on what is it that you want instead of what you don't want. Focus more on what are the next steps that you have to clarify. Then that's going to tell you a lot about where you are going and who you are becoming. Thank you so much for watching. I forgot to say between the video, but I appreciate the like, and if you want to stick around and learn more about how to use questions in your daily life, please also subscribe. Thank you so much.